Okay, so I'll start you off with an easy question here. How did you start your career?
How did I start my career? Started playing guitar and really enjoyed it and got to play a few open mics and stuff like that. And then uh, as people accepted it, I just decided it was time to start doing something more with it. So that was kind of the break in would have been 2017 was just recording the first few songs. I did 4 tracks in a house actually, just in a kind of in a back bedroom, recorded it as basic as you possibly could. And yeah, that was kind of getting the feet wet. And it's been a huge learning curve since then, all the different things that you can do with it. And obviously costs a little bit more money these days, but
Right.
it's definitely been a cool learning curve and a process to be part of.
That makes sense. Are you the only one in your family with a musical background?
Uh, in my immediate family, yeah, like my brother and late sister were they love music too, but they never really played or entertained with it. Um, and it's kind of come up that some of my grandparents and relatives in previous generations had played and done some stuff, but it kind of, like I said, just come to the surface. And now that I've started asking around, because I haven't known the answer to that question either of where music really fit into to my family and how it was something that I kind of got into. But yeah, the more I ask, the more I learn that there's some secret musicians tucked in past generations. They just weren't as vocal about it, and obviously didn't have the platforms that we do, so not as many people knew about it.
Right. That make that makes so much sense. Now, uh, why did you decide to take your music career professionally instead of a hobby?
Uh, well, to be honest, it's kind of both. Um, I have a full-time job too as a middle school phys ed teacher, and I've been doing that for the last 13 years. So that's my real profession that pays me the mortgage and allows me to have a family and do all that. And music kind of has turned from a hobby into something that certainly costs me money right now, but hopefully in short time it will start to like reverse and make me a little bit of money with royalties and streaming collections and all that type of stuff. But as you know, it takes a long time for uh, a million streams or whatever it takes to make a few bucks in music. So yeah, to call myself a professional musician sometimes is kind of surreal sometimes too. I know the definition is once you make money that constitutes professionalism, but I don't know that I'm quite making as much as I'm spending these days.
Right. Interesting. Uh, what would you describe your genre to be?
I would love to be in country, but I think genre is a confusing terms lately because country has changed a lot. And I was actually just watching a thing with Chad Kroger of Nickelback, and people can say what they want, but he talked about country music uh, being so much more about rock and roll. Like you think about the song Photograph, and he talked about that as in whenever it was recorded, Photograph from Nickelback is almost the same as what country music is today. Like there's this rocky edge to it, and I would almost compare myself to that type of sound. Like I take a lot of influence from country from the '90s, but also from alternative and rock from the '90s. I grew up with like Matchbox 20 and Collective Soul, and I don't know. And then you get into Nitty Gritty Dirt Band and that type of stuff. So I feel like I got a blend of a bunch of different stuff, but very country driven lyrics. And yeah, once we get a live show going, then it's you can really hear the rock aspects coming through with the electric guitars and the drums and type of stuff. So yeah, I don't know when it comes to answering that question, I tell people the same thing all the time. I'm kind of like rum and coke for your ears. It's just a blend of a bunch of different things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So, do you have any passions besides music?
Yeah, I grew up as an athlete. I was a hockey player for a long time. I was a goalie actually. and played a little bit of junior hockey, and decided that I needed to fulfill some career goals instead of chasing a dream for long after I was in my prime. So after junior, I went to school and, like I said, became a teacher. And I grew up on a farm, so I do a lot of outside stuff. I love camping and hanging out outside with my kids and going back to the farm, visiting and seeing the animals and livestock and wildlife, all of it. It's just it's a huge passion for me, being outside and enjoying nature as well. So yeah,
Right, that's really cool and interesting.
yeah. There's a lot of connections, right? In terms of all of the things that I've been through, whether it's being a goalie in hockey to outside in nature and dealing with animals on the farm or dealing with anything on the farm, um, to music, is there's like that consistent things are tricky, and they require work ethic, right? They require
Hmm.
persistence and perseverance, and a lot of lessons that I've learned over the years that I wish I would have known 20 years ago. How to do things right the first time, and how to take your time to make sure you're checking off all the boxes. And I think that's one of the things that I was guilty of in just about everything, is you get this immediate gratification, and you try and do things fast, and it usually doesn't give the result that you actually want. You gotta take a step back and slow down and do things properly the first time. So yeah, hopefully that's what benefits I'm seeing, is I'm starting to do that with music career, and like take my time, plan releases, talk to more people about it, and just share the successes that I'm starting to see, but in a slowed down kind of way.
Nice. So, in that sense, are you a songwriter? Do you write your own songs?
You bet. Yeah, it's that's probably the number one thing that I want people to think is the lyrics are my number one. Um, Obviously, I like the melody, and constructing a wicked song that people get stuck in their head is important, but it means a lot to me to be able to tell stories through the songs, and lots of times it's just, like I said in previous interview, um, it's just creativity with words. And like, man, as people, we say a lot of things every single day, right? And it's just a matter of like paying attention, having the awareness to know which one of those things is kind of like catchy, and just carrying your phone around, dropping it into your voice memos. Hey, remember this phrase or this word, and then you kind of have a hook that you can build off of. But yeah, I really enjoy writing songs, and knock on wood, it comes fairly natural, and lots of them come out fairly quickly. So hopefully we can keep that keep that going, and it doesn't get hard and get writer's block at some point. But
Right. Do you have a process when you write your songs?
yeah, just being genuine. To be honest, like if I'm having a bad day and I need to get it off my chest, I go and write. And if I'm having a really awesome day and something strikes me as cool, I go and write. And I think that's the thing that works for me is, um, like I said before, as human beings, my problems probably happen to 50 other people around me that day too, and my successes are happening with hundreds of other people around the world. So kind of just catching those little moments and being real with people and letting them know like this happens, and if it's a song that reminds you of a certain situation, then I hope you listen to it. And that's kind of the process, is just catching those little moments in time, and just going for a ride, writing down everything you can think of in the moment, and try and sing along to it and scratch things out and rewrite it again, and then the process of editing and stuff, right? But at the bare bones, when you got to get the skeleton, I think it's just a matter of taking advantage of some time and writing it down and actually recording some of those thoughts that are going through your head. Because yeah, like I said, there's so many things that go through our minds and out of our mouths every day that we got to take time to, I don't know, capture the good stuff.
Okay, that makes so much sense when you said like that.
Yeah.
Do you, how do you handle writer's block?
uh, Usually just kind of like close the book and walk away for a bit. And
Okay.
that's the thing too, that I've never really got to a point where I've been dissatisfied enough that I haven't gone back. Usually if I get to a point where a song's not working or I kind of get a verse and can't find another one, I'll just completely stop, throw a date on the page, and move on and try and write something else. And most of the time, it's not that it's writer's block; it's that I'll have like an image of my head of where I want a song to go, and I'll do the chorus, and then my next verse is like a completely different story being told. And I'm like,
Okay.
oh, these don't match together. So then you just take the second verse and throw it over here and leave this one and try and come back to it another day when your mind's in that same kind of wavelengths. And then, yeah, whatever you come up with, if that's good, you keep going with it. If not, same process. And it's just a matter of like sorting through ideas and trying to figure out which ones you think people are going to respond to. So, yeah.
Right, and that is a pretty clear image for you, like how you do it, because other people do it differently. So for you to do it that way is the kind of, you could say, your unique way.
Yeah, for sure. And I know a lot of people too that like love to co-write and love to collaborate and stuff like that. And I've really never taken the opportunity to do that. But yeah, it's kind of like I'm in a spot where it's if it's not broke, don't fix it. And I feel like I'm having some success writing some songs. And I was talking to a guy the other day that asked like, what do I do if I know a song's no good or if I'm worried a song's no good? My answer to him was like that. That's the thing that lots of people don't know is I have 20 songs that are I think 20 now is up to my catalog on Apple and Spotify and like all the streaming services, but that's 20 of probably like 500 or 600.
Hmm.
Like there's if it's 500, that means there's 480 songs that like I didn't even put on Instagram for people to kind of see if they like or not. So there's definitely a lot of things that don't get shown, but to the credit of the 20 are out there, they're the ones that I really believe are good stories or catchy songs or something like that. So yeah, it's kind of fun to look at it that way and remind myself every once in a while, like, holy man, how many of these didn't go anywhere or weren't the right idea or and in some cases it's like you steal from songs that didn't make it because they fit nicely with other ones. So yeah, it's good to just like I said, just writing everything down and keeping track of it. And I think that's the first trick is we're not all Jay-Z. We can't do it all from memory, right? So
Right. Uh, do you have a favorite song that you wrote and performed?
um I have lots. Like it changes all the time. Right now it's Made My Day because that's my brand new single that just dropped February 10th. And I'm in love with the song, the production of it, the lyrics, everything. But yeah, the other song that kind of sticks out to me is The Dark, which I released last year, kind of right around this time too. Um, but it's a special song because it was kind of the one that kind of made opened my eyes up a little bit. It got picked up by Sirius XM, top of the country, and like has played on radio, and people recognize it. So it's like it's a very close to home song. Anyways, it's pretty personal, and I think it was at a time where the world needed to kind of get out of the dark. It was in 2022, so like COVID and restrictions and all that type of stuff, and it was kind of a song for that moment. So yeah, I'm really proud of that one, but to pinpoint a favorite of mine, I don't think I have one. I think they're all special in their own way.
Well, I have to agree with you. I've listened to all your songs, and I think they all are pretty good. So you've been doing good so far. So hopefully you
Thank
keep
you.
hopefully you keep doing good because I like listening to your music.
Yeah, awesome. Well, it's good to know. I always love hearing that people appreciate it, and like I always say, it's you can put it out to a million people, and if one responds positively, that's a win for me. So I appreciate it.
Right. Shifting gears a little bit. When was the last time you performed?
We were live last weekend actually on Sunday or not Sunday, Friday and Saturday here in Lethbridge at the casino.
Oh yeah.
Played yeah, just monster weekend. Three sets each night for an hour each. So like we played 8 till 8 till midnight Friday and Saturday. So you can probably hear it in my voice a little bit. It's a little raspy, and I'm still kind of catching up. And yeah, I've got some stuff on the go. Trying to get a kind of a homemade music video done for Made My Day, and then a new release that I've kind of got in the chamber ready to go for this summer that I'm super excited about. I We have a big video planned for that one. I've hired a company in town, Hat Chaps Productions, to help me film that one and make some splashes this summer, hopefully. So yeah, there's a lot on the horizon for my music, and hopefully everything just continues to grow. I actually just jumped on the TikTok bandwagon this week too, because I realized that it was one of those things that's like everyone is doing it, and it's going quick. So might as well get on the train while it's moving.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, when you perform, do you do anything before you perform or after you perform? Do you have like a ritual or a process, or is every performance just different leading up to it?
Could you, yeah, it's funny. Like the process is a day of being a different person. I get super anxious and super nervous in the mornings, and kind of keep to myself and try not to talk too much and probably overthink it. But like there's something to it about saving your voice, especially when you got to go for 3 hours. So I do a lot of like almost like I'm preparing for hockey back in the day. Stick to myself and kind of think about all the things that I need to do. And there's some stress in it when you got to set up gear and things like that. Other events are nice when they have PAs set up for you, but yeah, for the most part, it's kind of sitting on pins and needles and getting to the venue and kind of meeting up with the band, just relaxing beforehand. And then once you go out, it's just kind of like, okay, you flick the light switch and you're on. And then at the end of the show, you turn it off. And like I said, for me, I have a pretty young family at home, 3 kids that love their dad. So it's not like I'm hanging out and partying and that rock star image that people have of like hair metal bands from the 80s. That
Right.
certainly not happening in my circles. I'm usually wrapping up and heading home to bed so that I can get up and do things like take my kids to hockey the next day or soccer practice or whatever it happens to be. So yeah, usually it's just like a euphoric high after the show. There's so much adrenaline and everything that it's usually home and try and get yourself to sleep. Kind of like amped up though. Yeah.
Gotcha. So, for someone like me who doesn't perform on stage, what's it like to perform on stage?
It's really cool. Like you get a really good sense of what the audience is feeling just from how they act. Like for instance, we played the 2 shows this weekend and they were both incredible, but Friday night was nonstop people dancing on this tiny little dance floor in front of us and really enjoyed the music. And to be honest, like Saturday's set was probably a tighter set from the band and like cleaner music, but there was no dancing. It was more so people sitting and like intently listening to songs and just like kicked their feet up and watched it as if they were at a concert. So it was like super easy on Friday night to have energy and to be super I don't know, excited about performing and lots of banter and stuff like that. Whereas Saturday, it was more of a laid back kind of in between songs, tell a story and invite people up to dance. But like, it's cool. And I appreciate all of the different types of audiences. But yeah, the main feeling is just like overwhelming pride that people are sitting there listening to you. First of all, like that's a feeling that's crazy to explain. You just look out and see people's eyes locked on you. Like, man, it's pretty cool. Then yeah, the adrenaline. Like once you get going and having fun, especially with the band, when you're making music together and there's 4 different things all coming together, like you feel it in your heart and I don't know, it just kind of projects through all the emotions that everybody has and typically it's a pretty fun event. So yeah, I don't know how to explain it other than I would attribute it a lot to like very similar to playing sports. You get nervous prior to, and then once you start, muscle memory takes over, and before you know it, you're done, and you're kind of like, what just happened? That was awesome.
Interesting. That sounds so cool.
Yeah.
For example, how do you react if like you're playing a gig and some of the crowd is not interested in you and not paying attention? Like, does that bother you, or how do you handle that?
I mean, yeah, it did early on, and I was like, oh man, not bother me to a point of like ever being confrontational or anything, but more so just like takes your confidence away and makes you not want to do it the next time. Um, but then I feel spoiled in a sense because I alluded to it earlier. I teach phys ed in middle school, and that's my job, is to tell kids how to strive for confidence, right?
Right.
And that was kind of the turning point for me, is I realized that you just need perspective, and you need to understand as an artist, whether it's drawing or selling music or performing, whatever, is people have a choice, and they get to decide if they come in the first place, if they're going to listen, if they're going to stand up and walk away, if they're going to get up and dance and sing. And I think the only way to encourage people to have a good time is to have a good time yourself. So
Mhm.
those that seem to not be enjoying it, unfortunately, they kind of just get like not ignored, but put out of my mind, right? And it's kind of like I can't dwell on the fact that someone is choosing something different. Instead, I'll focus on the people here that are really having a good time, and that usually transfers into everything. And like there's a cool quote from Buddha that if everyone just saw themselves as a candle, like one candle can ignite millions of flames and never go out, right? So yeah, that's kind of the perspective that I approach with, is if I keep my candle lit, then people can decide to either like theirs too or not, and it doesn't
Right.
take away from my Firebird. Yeah.
So, do you have a favorite place or venue that you performed at so far?
Uh, we've had so many cool ones. I think in terms of like the overall aesthetic, one of the coolest places I played is the Ironwood in Calgary. I played the King Eddie a couple times, and the history of that building is really neat.
Hmm.
And then a few years ago, we got to play on like the small stage at Country Thunder. Our band won a little bit of a performance opportunity. So I think it was in 2019 or 2020. We got to play at Country Thunder, and it was like the set before Jason Aldean. Only the difference was like we were on this little small stage, and he was on the big one, right? So,
Right.
um, but like that experience was really neat. Just seeing that many people in one spot to watch music was unreal. And obviously, lots of them were on the other side of the hill for Jason Aldean, but they all had to walk past us, so everybody got a little taste, and it was cool to see people stop and listen for a bit and dance, and then make their way to the big show. It was actually kind of funny. Like we ended our set basically the second that his music started, so we like shut down and ran over and joined the party too. So yeah,
That's cool. Um, is there a dream place you want to perform at someday?
I mean, every concert I ever go to, I'm like, man, I would love to be on this stage. So starting small, like I would love to get a call to play at the NMAX here when a country act comes through Lethbridge and they need an opening act. I would love to do that as a starter, and I'd love to play at the Saddle Dome. But um, I think the things on my immediate horizon is I really want to get into some sort of Calgary Stampede opportunity, whether it's Coke Stage or Ranchman's Tent or something like that. And that's just about pounding pavement and making sure people know that you're available to play. I guess like that's the thing that I've learned, is there's no shortage of performance opportunities during Stampede Week. It's just about banging on the right doors.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely some lofty goals, and like it would be awesome to play a stadium show, but I think that's a couple years down the road. I need to build a bigger following and get people to know that like you can request my songs on the radio, you can find me online, you can go to my website, ask for me play a town near you and that type of stuff. So yeah, I wouldn't I wouldn't pinpoint one specific venue. I just think bigger and bigger and bigger each time would be cool.
Right. So is there anything you would do differently or change in your music career, or are you happy with the way things are for you?
I mean, if I could win a lottery, that would be awesome because that, that would allow me to just like record a ton and potentially hire some people to do some marketing for me or media managers and stuff like that. That's
Mhm.
that's one of the things that stresses me out a little bit is there's only 24 hours in a day and
Yeah.
I don't like to spend that many doing six different jobs and it's a lot of hats to wear as an independent musician, I think. So if I if I could do it differently, and I don't think I would do anything differently, but I think that's the next step too, is like looking for more people to build a team with,
Mhm.
and create a little bit more, I don't know, free time to focus on writing and performing rather than okay, I've released a new single, so now I got to put on my manager and producer, or not producer, but my manager and social media hats and do all the next stuff, right? Where kind of lose the focus of what you did it for in the first place, which was to just sing and enjoy writing songs. So
Don't worry, I'll get the word out the best I can. I'll be telling people I know to check this guy out because he got some good music. So I'll help you out there, and because I love your
right,
music and I want you to grow too. So
right on, man. Thank you.
no worries. And so the first next little part, I'm gonna ask you some questions just to get to know you a little better. So
Yeah,
just some basic normal questions. Okay, so what is your favorite color?
orange.
Why orange?
I have no idea. It was as a kid, and like it's kind of like when people ask me who my favorite hockey team is. I'm like, Vancouver Canucks. And they're like, what? Like they were when I was a kid, and I loved them, and that's who I say because I don't really have a favorite. And I would say that's my answer to orange too. Is I don't think I've thought of colors as which one is my favorite since I was a kid, and that's what my stock answer was. So
Right.
orange.
Gotcha. And what are your hobbies?
Hobbies, playing guitar, playing with my kids, skating. I play hockey still. I'm a goalie. I love to draw, which is crazy. People look at me and they're like, "No, you don't." But I draw and I paint and I've got all sorts of little crafty stuff. I build Lego with my kids daily almost. It's yeah, I do a little bit of everything to be honest, but it revolves around creativity. Hobby is creativity, making stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
What does your typical evening look like?
Evenings. Well, I get home from school on a typical work day at 4:20 after 4, and my wife runs a day home, so our house usually empties out by 5, and then we hustle and make dinner, and then I think 3 or 4 nights a week our kids have activities, so we're doing stuff like that. Then I put them all to bed, and at 8:30 I finally get out to my little shed and play a little guitar for an hour, and go in, watch TV, and go to bed. Yeah, get up and
Cool.
do it all again in the next day. It's kind of, I don't know. I laugh at it now, but like you got to be careful. I don't do the exact same thing every day, but it would be pretty easy to get into a rut. You get comfortable doing the same thing, but yeah, I think that's why it's so important to me to kind of reserve a little bit of time every day to, or as much as I can, to get out to the garage or get out to the shed and play some guitar or write a song or even just listen to music and take some time just for myself, which is I think something we all need to do every once in a while.
No, I agree with you completely. So, what is your most prized possession?
Hmm. Um, I'm not really a material guy. I'll probably this is it.
Okay.
This, this is my most prized possession, and it's a piece of wood from the North Saskatchewan River that I pulled out of the water on a canoe trip. I was an instructor or a session lead, I guess, for summer camp for high school students called Faces, and I'm not really a water guy. I don't canoe a lot, but that was part of my job was to to show kids that you could do hard things even if you've never tried them before. And I went for a canoe ride down some white water and rode with a young girl that had never been in a canoe either. So I had quite a bit of responsibility and faced my fears that day. So I pulled this out of the water and added little things to it along the way. I got a little carabiner from a good buddy and a little family pillar with all my kids and wife's names, and then it's all hung on a guitar string. So it's kind of like my touchstone, and this thing has been on my neck since I found it in the water. And to be honest, it's more valuable than most stuff that I could buy or be given. It's it just has extrinsic things that are hard to explain.
Right. Who's your idol?
My idol, I've got lots of them. Like it goes back in time to when I was a hockey player. I loved Kirk McLean and Martin Brodeur. These days, I love Eric Church. I think Eric Church is the epitome of what I want people to think of when they hear my music. Is that guy's cool. He writes amazing songs. He's down to earth. He's nice. He's kind. He's genuine. He's open-minded. I think that's the really neat thing is I've seen such a transformation of him too when he first started, and he was like the church tour and everything was rock and roll flared and like really heavy type stuff and kind of some like outlaw type country, and then he's moved into like, I don't know, almost a humanist where he's talking about issues that are happening in our world and writing songs about racism and how to move forward from that. Like I just think he's got it figured out how to mesh being a human and being famous, and he does it very well.
Right.
So yeah, he's kind of my gold standard, the bar of what I want to be.
Gotcha. Do you have any merch?
I'm so bad at merch. I have zero merch. That's a lie. I found the other day about 14 remaining CDs from Peaks and Valleys. I found 2 t-shirts and I found 2 of my very, very first CDs. And I like had those stashed away because I'm like, I'm going to save these ones forever just in case.
Mm-hmm.
And I had 5 of them put away and I'm down to 2 now. So I'm like, all right, so I created a post the other day. I'm going to make one giveaway package. It's like hopefully build my following. So everybody's got to follow, comment, post, tag, do all that type of stuff. And you can find that post at Cody Hall Music, by the way. So if anybody's out there is looking for some merch, get on it and do that. But I do have 2 t-shirts and 2 of the original CDs, so I'll have to send them your way.
Gotcha, because I would love some merch of yours. So that's something I'm very interested in merch. I don't know why. I just like having stuff of people of music I like. So
yeah, I'll have to send you the package of some of the limited stuff. But yeah, I do have a draw for the last of it, and then since our talk, when you asked me the first time, I was like, oh my god, I need to get on this. I've actually started looking through Vistaprint at things like beer koozies and stickers, and I need to get some more business cards and all of that type of stuff. So yeah, one of those things that like when I talked earlier in the interview about like checking all the boxes and slowing down, making sure you've taken your time. That was one of the things that like it must have been the bottom box that I overlooked it. Because there's not a lot of merch to be sold with a brand new release right now. I'm just like, oh, that was a mistake. But yeah.
Gotcha.
We'll get
And last little question here: is there anyone you'd like to shout out or promote or anything like that? Because the floor is yours for this part.
Yeah, well, shout out to my bandmates, Jacqueline Kennelly and Chris Dyer and Eric Trotter, who are awesome to perform with and wicked to be around. And also shout out to my recording crew. And on Made My Day, it was Chris and Jacqueline played bass and lead guitar respectively, but also Joel Pearson, who was the producer and kind of the main man at Bucket Brigade Studios, where I do my work now, and Dyson Tyra, who played drums for me, he's just crazy good. We're kind of transitioning from our old drummer to our new one performance wise. So I needed somebody in the studio, and Dyson was just like, got it. Did 2 songs for us in a day, having heard them, I don't know, demos maybe 2 or 3 times. So it was really cool to work with them and Bucket Brigade. And like I said, if there's aspiring upcoming musicians out there looking for like, who can I go to that's going to make my music sound the way I want it to, and hear the things that I'm not hearing, that's Joel Pearson at Bucket Brigade. So big props to him and to everybody that I just mentioned for helping me create such cool songs and yeah, neat atmosphere to work in.
Right. Well, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to have an interview with me, and I look forward to seeing what you have got planned in the future. And if you're ever in Leduc or Edmonton area, hit me up and we'll plan something else. So, but
Would
thank you
love to,
so
Dylan.
much.
Thank you, man. It was a pleasure. Love being able to come and talk and spill the beans.
Oh, good. You've been amazing. So thank you for that. So
Right on, dude.
I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, will do. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Ciao.